Divergent transformation is a 7 mana cost instant with Undoubting, meaning that for each opponent this spell costs 1 less mana. So if you have 3 opponents in a 4-pod game, this is going to cost 4 mana. Quite good. And what it does is exile 2 target creatures. For each of those creatures, its controller reveals the top card of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. Puts that creature card onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into his or her library. Now this chaotic red spell was intended to be a spot removal against your opponent's creature cards and then see what you discovered from the rabbit hole. Chaotic and fun. But we can do something with it. We can build a combo deck with it, requiring 2 things. That you're playing a partner combination and that you have the color of red. So how you do this is that you cast this spell and target your 2 partner commanders. And the second part is that you can only have 2 specific creature cards in your deck to successfully program into nailing 2 specific creature cards in instant speed for only 4 mana. So which 2 creature cards from our deck should we aim at? Well, let's aim at Triskelion and Mikaeus. So here you have an instant speed win from your hand that you cast this, exile your 2 commanders and get these 2 cards into play. And you can win an instant speed with this. So Triskelion comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters. Use 2 of them to target the Triskelion and deal 2 damage to Triskelion, because Mikaeus is giving this +1/+1, so this is a 2/2 actually. And then the last counter is used to deal 1 damage to an opponent. And there you have it, infinite damage. You could also go for Celius Conscript and Kiki-Yiki. And here you have infinite tokens with haste, and just win the game. But let's actually backtrack. Let's go back to talking about which commanders could actually build this kind of combo. So you have to have partner commanders or a commander that is giving you tokens somehow. And Breya could do that. When Breya comes into play, she produces 2 Topters, and you use this spell to exile those 2 specific Topters. And then you would get something that would help out. You could also use this thing. Wolf Raid Mother is also producing tokens. The Raid Mother can also do one cool thing. So when you cast this spell, you tap 2 creature cards, her or 2 of her goblins, to make a copy of this spell. This means that it's going to be a little bit harder to counterspell and interact with this spell. And then when it resolves, you will get Kiki-Yiki and Celius Conscription. Kinda interesting. I don't think this is great, however, because this costs 6 mana, and that's a big problem. You also only have 2 colors in this deck. The same thing can be said with Maraf. So Maraf can be cast for 3 mana, then spend 1 mana to produce a token, and then produce maybe 1 more token, cast this spell, and exile those 2 specific tokens. The big problem with Maraf is that Maraf kinda wanna have mana dorks, and you can't have this spell if you have more than, or well, you can have this spell if you have more creature cards in your deck, but you won't make it into a win con. This is supposed to assemble a win con by exiling your commanders. After that, we have more commanders, partners, that could assemble this thing. So here you have 2 creature cards that I actually don't really recommend, because 4 mana, that's a lot of mana. You need to pay 8 mana from the command zone and then 4 more mana to make this successful. It's better to have lower mana cost on your creature cards. So for example, Akiri and Thrasios. So here you have 2 commanders at CMC 2, no black, but you have all the other colors, and you have the color identity of red, so you can assemble this. You could also do it in these colors, that's kinda okay, and from here you basically have a big artifact deck with only artifacts in it, and then just have 2 specific creature cards, maybe Mikaeus and Triskelion, and then win with this. Now, last thing I want to mention is that Tymna is probably a really bad partner commander for this deck, because when you're playing Tymna, you kinda wanna have hate bears. You really wanna have that Even Mind Sensor or other creature cards that have some evasion and can draw cards with Tymna. The same thing I wanna say is with Chrome. So Chrome costs 5 mana, and you actually rather have partners on a really low CMC cost so you can get them out early in the game and then nail them with this. I guess that there are more commanders out there in the multiverse that could produce tokens. I can't just figure out anymore at the moment. Let's proceed. I wanna showcase 2 more spells that can kinda do the job. So you have this spell, destroy X target creature or artifacts, and then start to reveal cards from the controller's library until you nail another creature or artifact. So you can do the same thing with this. This, however, requires that you don't play any artifacts whatsoever. So if you have both of these two, now you can't play artifacts and you can only have 2 specific creature cards in your deck. Also, this is 3 red mana, and that's a really tricky thing to achieve. However, it will do the exact same thing, and if you're playing an enchantment deck and a deck that is filled with only enchantments, then you can go for this. You also have this thing, Genesis Storm. So with this spell, however, you can only have 3 permanents in the entire deck, because this is the trick. You cast your 2 commanders, and then you cast this spell for 6 mana. Now you will cast 3 versions of this spell, meaning that you're starting to reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal 3 non-land permanents and put those permanents into play. And from there you could possibly win the game. However, if you're building this, you can only have 3 non-land permanents in your deck, and a deck filled with instants and sorceries. So it will be an interesting deck. I haven't really thought about how to build this. It's something that I have been theorizing in my mind, but I haven't really put anything together. But I want to mention that at least that is something you can do. I have 2 more cards to release and showcase, and that's Release the Gremlings. So sometimes it's a bit hard to actually get your commanders into play, and with this spell you can destroy a bunch of artifacts. With 5 mana you destroy 2 artifacts and get 2 red gremlins, and you can then use this spell to exile those 2 gremlins and get this spell rolling. So if you have a problem having your commanders in play, this is the way to do it. One more thing is that you can actually include 1 specific creature card in this deck, Torrential Gearhulk. So when Torrential Gearhulk comes into play, you will cast an instant spell from your graveyard without paying the mana cost. So if you accidentally, that is the word, nail this creature card with this spell, you can simply use this trigger to cast this spell and target itself. So now you will dig once more for the second, or actually for the 3rd creature card that you need from your deck. I don't think that this is an auto include just because of this, but I want to mention you can actually play Torrential Gearhulk in a deck like this. So let's go back and talk about what 2 specific creature cards we're gonna include in this deck to win the game. So we already looked at Mikaeus Triskelion, Kiki-Iki and Celios Conscription. So that is going to win the game for sure, but there is a problem. Look here, 6 mana, 6 mana, 5 mana and 5 mana, and also 3 red and 3 black. That's a big problem. Let's say we accidentally draw any of these creature cards. It's a really tricky business to cast these creature cards. And that's a problem. That is something you need to think about. Maybe we can include creature cards in the deck that is going to win the game with this Divergent transformation, but also be castable when we don't have the Divergent transformation in our hand and we draw the creature cards instead. So let's begin with Spellseeker and Rasaket. So what we're gonna do here is that Spellseeker is gonna search your library for Dramatic Reversal, and then you're gonna pay 2 life, sacrifice the Spellseeker and find Icycron's Scepter, and then you have the game. The big problem though is that Rasaket costs 8 mana. Spellseeker only costs 3 mana, so that's good, but the Rasaket costs 8 mana. That's a big problem. Let's see if we have other stuff. Let's bring in Notion Thief and Whirlpool Warrior. So what is going to happen here is that when Whirlpool Warrior comes into play, you shuffle all cards from your hand into your deck and draw that many cards. Then you're gonna sacrifice for 1 red mana this creature, and each player shuffle all the cards into his deck and draws that many cards. Then we have this effect. Now you're gonna drain all cards from all your opponent's hand and draw that many cards. Now this isn't going to instantly win the game, but you're going to draw a lot of cards, but also you can do everything in instant speed. Instant speed, instant speed, draw a lot of cards, maybe 18 to 21 cards, and then go to your turn, untap, and hold all those cards in your hand. This is perfect for a storm build, but also Notion Thief is really good without this combo. This is the same thing as casting Notion Thief and then casting Time Spiral. Then we have this thing which I don't really think is that good, but I just want to showcase it anyway. So you have this Drake and Deadeye Navigator, and this will give you infinite mana. Well, that's something. Then we have this thing, Pilapala and Grand Architect something. So what you begin it by doing is activating this ability for 1 blue mana, make this into a blue creature card, tap it 2 colorless mana, then activate this ability by untapping this and paying those 2 mana and gain a mana of any color. So now you have infinite mana. And what you're gonna do with infinite mana? Well, that is simple. This could be a very good win con for Breya or maybe Thrasius. But there is a better build for this, instead of those 2 Pilapala and Grand Architect, for Thrasius and Breya, and that is that you find Trinket Mage and Auriok Salvagers. So the first thing that happens is that Trinket Mage will search your library for a card that costs 1 or 0. So you will find Lion's Eye Diamond, and then you have the Bomberman combo assembled. Quite good. Also, these 3 cards are good inside your deck in situations when you don't draw your Divergent transformation, but accidentally draw into these 2 cards. And also, they don't cost that much mana, 3 mana and 4 mana and 0 mana. That's a lot better than 6 mana and 6 mana. You can also find Spellseeker and Laboratory Maniac, and Spellseeker will search a deck for either Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact. And what you do is that you go to your draw step. You did this in instant speed, and then before you draw a card, you cast either one of these 2 spells and exile your entire deck. So now you don't have any cards inside your deck, and you want to draw a card, and you're gonna win the game. And I really think that these 4 cards you're currently looking at is a lot better than Celia's Conscription. That is my point. Try to have cards inside your deck that is gonna perform a win con like this, but would be good inside your deck without the Divergent transformation. This will probably only be good with your Divergent transformation. The same thing can be said about Kiki-Yiki. Kiki-Yiki is actually quite good in decks when you don't win with Kiki-Yiki, because you can do some utility stuff with your other creature cards that don't go infinite tokens. For example, ETB effects that draw cards, etc, etc. But in this build, when you're playing Divergent transformation, you're not allowed to have any more creature cards. Therefore, Kiki-Yiki will pretty much do nothing. I also want to showcase something casual and maybe a little bit stupid. So here you have Wildfire Internal and cEDH. cEDH will exploit herself, and you will get whatever big instant or sorcery spell from your deck into your hand. Then you go to attack with this creature card, and whenever this creature card isn't blocked, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying the mana cost. That is cute and explosive. I don't really know what you're gonna do with it, but it's cool! Now let's look at something interesting. We have Sword Enchanter and Naxar Click. So here's the trick. You go to combat, attack with Sword Enchanter, and find an enchantment spell with cost 3 or less mana. You will find Earthcraft. Now if you have Fertile Ground enchanted into any basic land, Wild Growth enchanted onto an island, or Utopia Sprawl enchanted into a forest and naming blue, you can do this. You activate Earthcraft's ability by tapping Naxar Click, and then you use the mana you gain from this by 1 blue and 1 generic to untap the fairy and exile the top card of an opponent's library from the game. This will now exile all opponent's libraries from the game. And here is the thing, I guess I can't hide her anymore. Nayela the Blade Blossom can actually make infinite combat steps with Earthcraft. So here is a commander that can assemble the Divergent transformation because she has the ability to produce tokens, but also as she can win the game with Earthcraft, and Sword Enchanter can actually find other enchantments that will win the game with Nayela the Blade Blossom, like Druid's Repository. So I actually think that this is a thing. But let's actually let Sword Enchanter hang around a little bit more. So let's say that we find Sword Enchanter and one more specific creature card, but when Sword Enchanter attacks, we will find this spell, Jeskai Ascendancy. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you will draw a card and discard a card and untap all creature cards. So if the other creature card you find is either this creature card, you will tap this creature to draw 3 cards, and if you have a deck filled with rituals, you will draw a lot of rituals. Then just cast any ritual, draw a card, discard a card, and untap this creature card. Amazing, we're gonna draw an entire deck from here and win the game with some form of storm build. But you could also find Bloom Tender. So when you have Bloom Tender in play, and you have Third Enchanter in play, you have Jeskai Ascendancy, you basically have all 5 color identities, and you can do this. You tap Bloom Tender for mana and cast an artifact spell that somehow, or a spell that somehow draws you cards. You will untap Bloom Tender and just proceed by winning the game with some form of storm build. If you don't go for Bloom Tender, you can have this combo by going for these 2 commanders and trying to build some form of a storm build, some form of storm win. Alright, this is it for today and it for this video. We have been transforming a lot. I hope this deck have inspired you and given you some ideas on how you can make Divergent combo builds. In any case, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.